The US launched strikes on 3 nuclear sites in Iran, including Fordow, Natanz and Esfahan. B-2 bombers were involved in the American strikes on Iran. Donald Trump said this is a historic moment for the United States of America, Israel and the world. And to take forward the conversation on the developments, joining me is Strategic Affairs expert Mr. Alok Bansal from the India Foundation, Direct India Foundation. Good morning and welcome, sir, to the News Hour. Your first reaction, sir, on the developments since morning, America targeting the nuclear sites in Iran. Iran says America has violated international law. How should India be looking at these developments?
See, this is a dangerous escalation and a conflict that could have grave implications for India. Because if Iran responds, Iran does not have the wherewithal to respond to America and attack American mainland. It could attack American allies or American bases in the Gulf. And US has large number of bases in the Persian Gulf. It has its presence in UAE, it has its presence in Bahrain, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, Oman, Syria, Iraq, Jordan. So there is a plethora of places where US army personnel are present. Now if it starts targeting and one of them hits them, there will be some casualties. But more significantly, they have talked of attacking US naval ships, which they may not succeed. But they can easily distract the shipping that is emanating from Persian Gulf and could create turbulence in the Strait of Hormuz. The second option is that Iran could also attack some of the US allies like Bahrain, which they always claimed as their territory, or UAE or Saudi Arabia, which would have a huge repercussion because from India's point of view, not only a significant portion of our energy emanates from Persian Gulf, but almost 40 to 45% of remittances that come to India emanate from Persian Gulf region. And India, as you know, is the largest destination of global remittances. Now, any turbulence in this period, these Indian diaspora would come back scurrying home. And that could deprive India of a huge chunk of perpetual income that we have been accruing. So, one really can't say how it pans out because now that US has struck, it may be prudent for the US to go for a regime change because a wounded tiger would be far more dangerous as far as the US is concerned.
So in the first reactions that have come in from Iran, they've said that America has violated the international law, also related to the NPT and United Nations. Now, what are the laws that guard protection or targeting of nuclear asset? Has America broken such laws? Does America, in real terms, even come under the purview of such laws?
See, if you go by the letter and spirit, yes, these were all nuclear facilities that were declared, were functioning under IAEA safeguards, so-called. And according to the established norms, any attack on them was actually a violation of international norms. Let there be no doubt as far as this is concerned. But the US has not been following. In fact, right from the time that Israel attacked, if you go by the letter and spirit of the norms, then it was a violation of the norms. But again, as US says, Iran was close to building a nuclear bomb. Now that would have been a violation of Iran's own commitments to nuclear non-proliferation treaty. Now, if we go by what US says that they were close to building a bomb, then well, Iran was also violating norms. But as Iran has always said that they were not doing anything, and IAEA, till the recent statement, was saying that Iran is nowhere close to building a bomb, and even Tulsi Gabbard in her initial statement said that Iran was nowhere close to building a bomb. And then of course subsequently in her recent statement she said they have enough enriched material to build it within weeks or months. So it depends how you look at it. Actually this comes in that grey zone, but yes, if you go by the letter and spirit of the agreements, I think attack on a nuclear facility which had been functioning under IAEA safeguards is actually a violation of international norms.
Just spending time with that grey zone that you refer to, many experts, even before this attack actually took place, have been talking about certain eerie similarities between earlier American missions in Iraq, Afghanistan and other parts of West Asia in particular, where there was an anticipation of a certain dangerous weapon and America goes ahead and attack, and what follows is a chaos. What could happen in this case? What are the possibilities that could take place vis-a-vis Iran?
See, there is no doubt that what US did in Afghanistan, we saw. They spent decades, hundreds of troops, lives lost, billions of dollars spent, and they returned Afghanistan back to Taliban. In Iraq, they managed to bring out some sort of assemblies. As I said, if they go for a regime change and manage to bring a different regime in Iran, things might stabilize. There may be internal disturbances, but Iran could stabilize and the region could also stabilize. But if they leave at it, Iran is bound to retaliate. And that retaliation may engulf not only US and Israel, but many of US allies. Also, in this particular conflict, we have seen that the traditional Arab allies of US have by and large criticized Israel till now. How will they react as far as Iran's attack is concerned is a serious concern. Now, if Iran disturbs the Persian Gulf and Iran's allies, Houthis have warned Americans that they will attack American assets in Red Sea, we have a major problem because the entire traffic to Europe will get disrupted because most of the traffic to Europe goes through this. If ships have to go around Cape of Good Hope, it will be a very, very big, longer time and the cost overruns will be huge. So this has the potential to derail global economy to a very, very great extent. How it shapes out will depend on next 2-3 days because what is going to be the Iranian retaliation will be known within next 24 hours. And how it pans out from there will actually give an idea. But there is no doubt that US attack on Iraq was on a false premise. And this could as well be a false premise because Iran was willing to negotiate, was on the verge of negotiating with US. And even earlier, before Israel attacked, the second round was to take place on Sunday. The attack came just before that. And now again, the president, Trump said 2 weeks and now he is struck again. So I think the credibility of US has taken a serious beating. And I feel under Trump administration, US credibility is going to be a big, big question mark.
Right. And sir, just stay with us for a moment while some reactions are coming in, some updates in fact. The Iranian state television has announced fresh salvo of missiles on Israel. The Iranian state media has said the country has launched 30 missiles at Israel. Israeli army says it's working to intercept the missiles launched from Iran. So those are just the updates are coming in. The statement earlier came from the foreign minister of Iran, Abbas Araghchi, about how US had violated international law by the steps that it has taken. Mr. Bansal, again, ahead of the attack, we saw how most of the West was divided over whether America should enter this conflict. The allies of Iran, namely Russia and China to begin with, had said that America must not intervene. Within America, the lawmakers were divided if the president by himself had the right to unilaterally take a call on such a strike. What did President Donald Trump achieve personally, politically, and for America with these strikes?
See, I don't think so. Trump looks at what he's achieving. At least to my mind, he doesn't seem to be worried about what America has achieved. It's only his whims and fancies. Actually, if you look at it, Trump's second term, it's been even more whimsical than the first one. He decides and takes one course of action. His statements are erratic. And there is no doubt that there is a huge division in US. As per US Constitution, the power to declare war rests with US Senate. But of course, this is not considered as war. So this, as a commander-in-chief, the US president can take a decision, something like that, which he has done. There is a huge division within his support base itself, because people don't want to get entangled into another Middle Eastern war. As far as allies are concerned, you need to look at it. France and some of the European countries were actually extremely supportive of Iran, and they thought that negotiations could work out. But on the other hand, you had people like Germany and permanent US lackey, the UK, who were actually doing the US bidding. So there is a division, but most of the US allies in the Middle East are at this point of time not supportive of Israel. So obviously they have not, I have not seen their statements on US attacks. Most of them would be critical of US. and the fact that US has already started withdrawing its staff from Iraq embassy shows that US also visualizes that there is going to be some retaliation.
And for Israel, Mr. Bansal, what looks like the road ahead? Full of praises, of course, for President Donald Trump. Prime Minister Netanyahu says that this historic development would pave the way for, he says, prosperity for the entire region. How do we understand his definition of prosperity?
Again, as I said, if this attack culminates in a regime change in Iran, then yes, then it could be a new era altogether. Because please understand, Shah's regime was very, very friendly towards Israel. So if, as they are trying to support Pahlavi to come back, but despite regime in Iran being extremely unpopular, people don't tend to side with those opposing the regime in times of war. In fact, the Muttahida Khalq, MEK, which was a very powerful force, actually got decimated for supporting Saddam Hussein during Iran-Iraq war. Now, I'm not sure whether Pahlavi's support, which is very marginal in any case, but fortunately or unfortunately, he's the only credible leader now, because MEK has been wiped off, today has been wiped off. So whatever little opposition is, he's the most well-known leader. If he can effect a regime change, if he cannot, then you will see Iranian regime would be like a wounded tiger, and it is going to hurt US and its interest enormously, because US does not have the capacity for a protracted war. This has been actually shown both in Afghanistan and other places, that US can bomb the places, but it would be extremely unwilling to put troops on ground. And so how it pans out actually depends on next 24, 48 hours. How does Iran respond to this aggression, and what is the next course of action for US? To my mind, best course of action for US now would be, having attacked Iran, is to go for effecting a regime change. How they do it, I think with Israeli spies and the pro-US forces, they should be able to do. And maybe that is one of the reasons why Asim Munir met with Trump. Maybe they want to initiate some anti-regime forces to move in from Pakistani side or from Iraqi side.
But sir, just to recollect, just a few days ago, while Israel had pushed for removal of the supreme leader of Iran, Donald Trump, the US leadership had very categorically said that US does not want his removal. You're saying that after these attacks, they could possibly revamp their strategy for Iran vis-a-vis regime change?
Yeah, as I said, Trump's statements have no meaning. One day he'll make some statement, next day he'll make some statement. But what has happened is that all this while it has been reported that Velayat-e-Faqih has nominated 3 possible successors. So that problem, which could have emanated in case he would have been eliminated earlier, may not eliminate. But I have no doubts that as and when he passes away, naturally or unnaturally, there is bound to be some turbulence, because having visited Iran on a number of times, I can tell you that the regime is extremely unpopular amongst the population. But having said that, this is seen as an external aggression. And I think during external aggression, I'm not really sure how the population would react. But if US can effect a regime change, it may well be a big opportunity for the region as a whole. If not, then we are seeing a protracted war which could derail the global economy to a very, very great extent.
On that note, Mr. Alok Bansal, appreciate you joining us on the News Hour and sharing your perspective.